Put it in Rebecca's office. It's like a Berkey water filter, so it's like really fucking expensive. It was like $300.
Nice.
But you don't have to like, you know how like a lot of those pitcher water filters, you have to like replace the filter.
Yeah.
You don't really have to replace it. It takes like 2 years for it to be replaced.
Then you do have to replace it. It just takes 2 years to replace it.
Yeah, but it just, it takes a while. So the
And it's only
cost
you
per
drinking.
gallon, yeah, and the cost per gallon is a lot less. Anyway, we were like, it was like 1 a.m. and we were both talking about how much we wanted to get a Berkey water filter, and I was like, you want to split it? And she's like, yeah, let's do it. She
Nice.
like Venmoed me like $150 and I bought it right then. And then I put it together.
Was there any regret once it arrived and you're like, oh, we bought that?
Not really. I don't love the taste of the water, but I don't hate it. It's better than Indiana water, but it's like softer than I'm normally used to. It's fine.
Is it cold?
This isn't cold because it's on the counter, but I take it upstairs and put it in my fridge.
Wait, she doesn't have a fridge right there?
She does, but it's like a huge canister. It's like this big. It's like the size of a small child.
Okay.
And I was putting it together, and I was like getting so mad and I was like reading the instructions, and I was like, oh, I should probably read the instructions before I do this. And Rebecca's like, yes, you probably should. And I start putting it together, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to wash my hands before I did this, and like all these things, and like we get through it, and I'm like, things are spraying all over the place, and then I finish it like putting it together, and I walk over there, I'm like, oh look, a starter pack. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? She goes, you are an entire reality TV show. And that was my favorite thing that somebody's ever told me. Okay, so when would you like to start?
Okay, 25? So what segments are we doing today? Are we doing a listener question? Mm-hmm. Are we doing a what would you do if?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to pick one of those and I pick the other one? I want to pick the what would you do if. You could pick a listener question.
Sounds good. Okay, there we go. Listener question. I think we should do either of you know your Enneagram type?
But we don't. I mean, I don't.
Do you know your Myers-Briggs type?
Is that the INFJ stuff?
Yeah.
Enneagram is not the same. It's like a number, isn't it?
But it's close.
Do you know I don't know what that maps to. I don't know.
Fine. You have homework this week, and that's what you're going to have to figure out.
I read that before, and I was like, I'm going to have to do some research for that one.
Oh, I like this. What are your must-haves for when looking at a used kiln that will fire to cone 6?
Okay.
Are you not okay with that question?
No, that's fine. Are you just going to refer them to the kiln episode, or?
No, I think that, I mean, we can both say, like, what we look at. You know, we can both say, like, this is when I'm going in, this is what I'm looking for. Just real quick.
Wait. What was the question?
What are your must-haves when looking for a used kiln that will fire to cone 6?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. When would you like to start? Would you like to start at 27?
Sure. Didn't do a test, but we'll figure it out. All right. Here, a few seconds.
Go. Dun, 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 dun.
Started.
Hi, Ryan.
Hi, Becca.
Hi.
It's Monday.
It's Monday. Monday fun day. Not really, though, because it's Monday.
That's not the right thing. Sunday fun day. Case of the Mondays.
Case of the Mondays. You know what's so fucking dumb is that I start work on Sunday, but Mondays still feel like Mondays to me.
The thing is, there's probably nobody else in there on Sunday, right?
Right, so it's pretty enjoyable. Not that I don't love my coworkers, I absolutely do. But it's nice. It's always nice to have a studio all to yourself.
Yeah, I bet.
Mm.
I mean, I have it every time I'm in my studio, so yeah.
Yeah, or with like Abby. Abby kind of goes and she's there on Sundays too, and we have fun. Like yesterday, we watched Cinderella, the Brandy one and the regular one.
I wonder what that one movie you were watching. Okay, so that was the Brandy Cinderella. I saw was it Whoopi Goldberg in that?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never seen that.
Shit.
I did watch Sister Act 2 this weekend, though.
In it too. Whitney Houston's in it too, and she's the fairy godmother. It's like, I love that. I love the Brandy version of Cinderella. Impossible.
When was that made? In the 90s at some point?
I think it was made in 2000s.
Really? Okay.
I'm going to look it up. Brandy Cinderella. Let's see. It was made in... Oh, you were correct. 1997. It's Rogers and Hammerstein. Steins.
God. What is that? Robert and Hammerstein's Cinderella is what it's called?
Rogers and Hammerstein's Cinderella. Yeah.
Okay. What did that?
It's so great.
Are you on IMDb?
Yes.
What did it get rating wise? I'm gonna guess 6.3.
Wow, you're so close. A 6.7.
Ooh, okay.
It's super colorful. It's like the set is so cool and the costumes are really cool, I think. And like the cast is great and she's like an independent woman and human and yeah.
I'm sure it's got some comedy and stuff in there and
a little bit. Anyway, moving on. How was your day?
I was on the news this morning.
What?
Did you watch that?
About it? No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. So I was on. What's that? So I was on WCPO Cincy Lifestyle, which is a news segment that they do about just different things going on in the area. That was specifically for the Spring Pottery Fair, which is coming up on Saturday.
Yay!
So we just reached out to them like a few weeks ago, and we figure out advertising ways to get the word out about the show, and that was usually the news station stuff is in advance. Hope they follow up, and you gotta send them a press release with all the stuff. So we had a few people provide all that, and then they're like, okay, we've got a spot on this day at this time. Who can do it? It's virtual, and it's going to be like 3 minutes. So I've done it in the past once before. It was actually in studio in the past, and that was more stressful. That's more like you get your heart racing because you like see all the lights and you see the stage and like all the stuff going on, and you've got to like, there's more pressure because the camera's on you and stuff while it's live. But I mean, it was still live, but it was virtual, so I was just in my house doing it. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. I hope that your show goes really, really well. Last year you did pretty good, right?
Well, I didn't do the Spring Pottery Fair last year, but I've got high hopes for it. I think I'll do well. The last time I did it, last time I sold there was in 2019. And I want to say I sold about $1,800 there.
I feel like I remember that day, and you were freaking ecstatic.
Yeah, like, I think that was my best $1,800 show.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it was freaking sweet. So I hope I sell a lot.
I hope you sell a lot too.
I had my first show this weekend at the farmer's market.
Yeah.
Gosh, that thing wore me out so bad by the end of it. I got home and I was like, ugh. I just sat around. I like went upstairs, watched a movie, lay in bed for like 2 hours afterwards. Like got dinner.
I haven't had this much interaction with people in a while.
I don't know why. Like normally the normally the farmers markets are like kind of exhausting a little bit because I get up so early because it starts at 9.
Yeah.
But the setup's easier. So I mean, I get up at like 7. I never get up at 7 unless it's for a
Right.
show. And but yeah, I sold better than I expected, and like it was good. It was still a little rainy, but it was good people out there. I sold some quite a bit of stuff, and the prices were higher because I started raising my prices. So that was my first show with the higher prices. We'll see how that goes this weekend as well.
Did anybody huff and puff about it?
No, the part that I was kind of confused about was the planters. I wasn't sure what to price the newer like medium-sized planters because I've
Mm-hmm.
got the planters with the saucers, and I had to price the saucers like relative to what I would price a spoon rest because it's kind of like a spoon rest, but it's bigger. And I'm like, the saucer by itself is like $18. Does that seem reasonable when the planter itself is like 28? So I'm like, man,
Does
that's
anything seem reasonable ever?
I don't know. So I'm just like, I'm just gonna go with it. We'll see what happens. And
And
I sold a small planter with a saucer, and I sold a bigger planter with a saucer. I didn't sell any of the ones that already had the succulents in them that I planted, but I'll take those this weekend. We'll see if they sell.
well, you know what the great thing about a saucer is that if your plant dies, you can use the saucer as a plate. So,
Yep.
that's really the best thing about
And
saucers.
honestly,
That
I would
they're
prefer
multifunctional.
not to make them. Like if the planter sells without the saucer, I'm all for it. I'd much rather just make the planters without them.
Yeah. Um, I remember when I was making these 12-inch saucers for Urban Sprouts, and I'm like, how do I make this saucer so that it's like affordable? And I made this, and this saucer's like, it took so much time. I could only fire 6 of them at once. I had to use the baby kiln, and it was such a pain in the butt. My breaking rate was so high, it was terrible, and I sold them for way too little.
Yeah,
And
and if
it,
you sold
and
that
I was
same
like,
size for a plate, you would probably market higher price.
I would sell
Well,
it for
because it's a saucer.
$75 at least, and that's me selling it for $75 at least. And I don't
And
even
you
want to tell
sell it
you
as a
how much I was selling.
saucer, you feel like it inherently has to be less
Yeah, I
because
don't
it's
really.
an additional like add-on kind of
Yeah.
thing to a planter.
Do you want to
Ridiculous.
guess how much I sold it for wholesale?
Just the saucer or the planter with the saucer?
No, just the saucer, the 12-inch saucer. 12-inch interior, by the way. The interior was 12-inch, so a 12-inch planter could fit in it.
Oh God, you probably sold it for like $18.
Yeah, I sold it for $15, and that was like,
Oh my
I
God.
told her, I told her the price. This is this is why you always make a test before you say the price. I told her the price before I made the test. And immediately when I made the first one, I was like, fuck. And knowing
Because it takes
Jen
so much
now,
clay, right, to get out to 12
yeah.
inches.
Oh my God. And it was like a slab process. It was easy. They were easy, but it was just like a pain in the ass. And knowing Jen now, like that I know her now, I should have been like, you know what, Jen? I wildly underpriced these. Like these need to be at least double. But I didn't, and I should have. But at the end of the day, I basically was like, I can't do it. I'm not doing the 12-inch saucers. So that's how that happened. But anyway, there you go.
How was your day and weekend? Did we talk about your day and weekend? I
We
don't remember.
kind of did. I will briefly say that I'm not feeling great this week or this week, but other than that, I'm doing fine. And just throwing away at my job, and it's sunny, which is nice. And oh, there is one thing. Um, I finally bisqued the pieces that I made that are like really nice, the ones with the nice bases for my new line, and I sanded them, and I got a gift and grip from Josh's friend for too much money, and I sanded them. It's okay though. I don't blame her. I would probably sell it for $150 too. I hate gift and grips. They're so expensive. Anyway, moving on. Um, anyway, I got a gift and grip, and so then I sanded all these pieces, and they're so fucking smooth. I sanded them in bisque stage, which I've never done, and I got a bisque piece shiny. And I feel like
Nice.
that's an accomplishment that not very many people have made. And
And when you're bisquing these, are you bisque? Because before you were saying you were going up to cone 5. Did you go up to cone 5 or did you go to bisque temp?
no, we're trying it. We're trying a different method.
Okay.
So, because these have two parts to the pieces, like there's the base, the wall is where the painting is, and then the bottom. I'm thinking that I can get away with a little bit of texture on the wall, and then make the bottom and the base really smooth, and have that be like the focal point to like the touching part.
So you're saying there's like a transitional point
Right.
because you've got like a straight wall and then it's got like
A
something that
rounded bot, yeah,
juts
like a
bottom.
rounded base.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
That makes it a lot easier to sand too because I was like gift and grip, so you're like choking in on the bottom and then you're gift and gripping and like sanding the side, so you're not
yeah.
necessarily sanding the side.
I am sanding the side. I sanded the whole fucking thing. But I won't sand the side again exponent like a ton. So what I
Oh,
was doing
okay.
before was I was burnishing them in greenware stage. I was bisquing them. I wasn't sanding them in bisquing stage, and then I was firing them full after I put the liner glaze in, and then I was sanding them down to super fucking smooth, and then I was glazing them on vitrified clay, and then I was firing them again. And now I'm glazing them on bisqueware, which is really nice because things actually dry. And then yeah, so we'll see. They come out of the kiln tomorrow, so I'm excited to see
Sweet.
how that
They
goes.
come
And then
out finished tomorrow?
they come out almost finished tomorrow, and then I'll sand the bases again so that they're super smooth and shiny, and then they'll be finished.
Nice.
Yeah. I was going to do a third firing at a bisque stage and fire the dots. So this is kind of a test to see how the dots do, the stroke and coat dots, to see if they stay put and don't run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Fun, fun, fun.
Coming along. Well,
Okay.
your kiln's supposed to be there soon, right?
Who knows? Poor Canada. Canada's in a rough spot right now. So
Yeah.
so who knows when it'll be here, but it was supposed to be here this week. It is not. Not that we know. So, yeah. Okay. We are going to do a listener question. And then we're going to do our new segment that Ryan came up with. And then we will talk about our talk. Okay. So, listener question from Amy Robin Pottery. What are the must-haves when looking for a used kiln that will fire to cone 6? So, like, the scenario is somebody is selling a used kiln on Craigslist. What is like the top 3 things that you're looking for, Ryan?
I want to make sure from the kilns that I've had before, I want the kiln brick to be pretty much impeccable. I don't want a bunch of big chunks out of it because it's going to cause the elements to sag, and it just doesn't look as good and doesn't, it needs more maintenance down the road. Um, Along with the bricks, like I don't want a bunch of glaze on the bricks that's like melting into the brick and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I could be looking at the element quality, like are they tightly compact and like leaning over to the side? If they're tight and leaning, that probably means they're getting close to their end of their life. If they look like really crusty and I'd say the sagginess of it kind of tells me that it's getting close.
Mhm.
Um, those are the two main things. I don't think. I mean, I could look at like the kiln lid a little bit, maybe, or how like how cracked that is, but I wouldn't say the shelving and the kiln posts and furniture, like that's not as high on my list. That would probably be down to like 4 and 5 on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would say that's most of it. I mean, at this point, I'm only going to get something with a controller, electronic controller. So
No, at this point, you're only going to get a new fucking kiln because you need to spend some money. I will now be the
Wait,
I will be the purchaser
Did
for
she
RD
say?
Ceramic. I
Did
know,
she?
but that was just not related.
Next
Okay,
kiln I
what
look
are
at.
my must-haves are okay, my must-haves. It needs to be cone 10. That's a
And
number
that was
one
going to be
must-have.
your number one.
What?
That was going to be your number one.
Yeah, it needs to be a cone 10 kiln. I am never, ever, ever buying a cone 8 or cone 6 kiln
And
again.
why not?
Because they wear out too quickly and they just cause problems. They're just like, it's like just over time, they're like, oh, I hate you. And they're fine. They're fine kilns and they're great for bisque. But a used cone 8 kiln or a cone, especially a cone 6, you just, after a while, it's like, nah, fuck you. Even, even if you have brand new elements, sometimes they're just like, nah. So that's the number one thing. It's got to be cone 10. Number two is the brick condition. Not as much the element condition because I buy a kiln knowing that I'm probably going to be replacing those elements pretty soon. Number three, does it turn on and does it get to temp?
Ooh.
That's
How do you test that? Do you have them fire it? Like, do you go on
yes.
word of mouth?
I have tested it in somebody's garage before. But yeah, that's a tough one. That's a super tough one. I have bought kilns blind before, but from people that I knew and trusted.
Part of the
But
price you're
I'm not.
paying. I mean, you
Yeah,
can't assume, but
yeah. I'm not sure that I would ever buy a kiln anymore without being able to test it in some way. Um, yeah, yeah. That's probably my tops. And like do a paper test or like turn it on high, close the lid, and 15 minutes later see if it gets right all the way down. So
that's a good idea.
that was a very good thing that somebody told me. Oh, okay. Anyway,
Because
that
I
was a
feel
good
like a
thing.
lot of kilns that you get will have a plug, and they're like, "Well, I've never plugged it in, or I moved,
Right.
and then I never got a new plug, so like you can't
Yeah.
test anything."
Yeah, sometimes. And like if they're like, "Oh, it worked." And if I look inside and the bricks say like, "Hey, this is a pretty brand new kiln," then I'm usually going to be okay with it, but yeah. And as far as kiln furniture goes, I don't even want kiln furniture because I feel like people abuse their shelves like tenfold, and I am like super fucking picky about my shelves. So I would much rather just buy brand new shelves.
Really?
And
You wouldn't
yes,
take them with you, or you would
well,
ask for a
I
discount
would
because you
if
don't want to take them?
I would take them. I would take them, but that's not going to be like something that I'm looking for at all. Like
Okay.
like the small kiln that I had the kiln shelves and they just gave me issues like all the way up, and just like flaking off kiln wash. Like nobody knows how to apply kiln wash anymore. And so it like it just
That's
flakes off
true.
all
Some
the
of
time.
them they can cake up like crazy. I
Yeah,
mean, the only way
that's
to
the
get them
thing.
flat is to angle grind some bitch and like
Yeah.
flatten it
Yeah.
out so it's perfect, and then you can put a clean.
Yeah. I mean like yeah, we should do a tutorial on how to apply kiln wash because I feel like I'm like I do the thinnest layer of kiln wash, like and I do one layer of kiln wash, and then but I also don't have glazes that drip. We'll give my like I will say that as well. I'm not a fan of super duper drippy glazes,
So
but
yours is just in case shit happens. It's not.
right. I'm much more a fan of like just sprinkling alumina on the shelf every time I put it in the kiln than the other way. So I do a thin wash of kiln, like thin layer of kiln wash, super thin, and then I sprinkle alumina on it. Okay, I do have something to say that's kind of sad. Well, it is sad about my week. The guy that taught me pottery, Larry Bruning, actually passed away this week. So that
Really?
was really sad. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
He was
sad.
like 75, 76, something like that. He had an
Yeah.
aneurysm like a couple of years back, so he wasn't in great health anyway, but yeah, super sad. Like, kind of crazy. Like, he taught me, like, I obviously learned clay in college, but he taught
Yeah, but
me,
you
like,
taught it.
production.
You talked about him a number of times here, and
Yeah. Yeah, he taught me production, so super sad.
how'd you
But
find out
yeah,
about it? Are there people in your town? Because it's a small town, right? So,
it's smallish. They put it on Facebook. He
okay.
passed away on Monday. So, yeah, last Monday, so a week ago. But yeah, I just found out like 2 days ago. Anyway, that also happened, so I felt like I should say that. Anyway, okay, what next? Moving on. We will only say good things about, you know. Obviously, I do pottery because of this man, so he did good things.
Nice.
um,
All right.
okay.
Moving on to our new segment. Before we do our new segment,
Yeah.
we still have. We haven't even released the episode yet about the reviews, but if you send us a review, we will send you a sticker. So we talked about in the last episode. I think we said the whole write a review after this date. Send us your address, and we'll send you a sticker with a screenshot of your review, and we'll
We
mail
should
that out.
probably do a cutoff date. Let's do a cutoff date because people are going to be listening to this in the future. And I don't want to be sending stickers to people in 2023. So I, I'm just saying, I'm just saying by this lasts for the whole month of May 2021. Okay. Like until May 31st, 2021, we will send you a
Okay,
sticker.
and that first episode is going to go live on May 1st. So
That's perfect. A month. You have a month for this deal.
you'll basically have 4 episodes probably throughout the
Yes.
month that you'll hear or you'll have the opportunity. So we'll see if we can remember to remind you
Yeah.
throughout to get that going. So all right, that was my only thing before. And then we're going to do what would you do if you spill a 5-gallon bucket of glaze on the floor?
Oh, God. God. Ugh. How about what did you do when?
I've never spilled a 5-gallon bucket of glaze, but I have had a shelf fall in the middle of the night, and glaze was included in that. All right, so let's start with you because you started with me last time, and it was a shit show. So,
What would I do if a 5-gallon bucket of glaze spilled on the floor? First of all, expletives. Lots.
lots of extra.
Lots of expletives. Second, I would probably find some sort of a squeegee type substance, cardboard, whatever, and get as much of it back into the bucket as possible. Not to reuse. I might actually reuse it. That's a lie. Depending on how clean the floor is and where it was done, I might reuse it if I spilled the entire 5-gallon bucket. Ugh. I have spilled a lot of glaze on the floor and it is a pain. And also it was an iron glaze, which is worse. Um,
God, it looks like a
and
murder scene.
it does look like a murder scene. It's fucking terrible. Um, and then, you know, I like a lot of people would clean it. You obviously want to clean up as much of it wet as you can, but damn, it just spreads everywhere. Like obviously you're gonna get the mop bucket and mop as much as you can up, but ugh, I might get frustrated, walk away, go drink a beer, and then come back when it's dry.
See, what I did when my glaze fell off the shelf, I think I just cleaned up the glass stuff that broke, but I think I waited until it was dry actually. Respirator, and I think I scraped it up with something
Yeah,
and disposed of it because
I
when
might
it's
be tempted
wet,
to do that.
when it's wet, it's just so hard. Like imagine how much sponging you're doing, and then you have a side bucket with water, right? And you're like
Yeah.
wringing out the sponge. Like it's better just let it set,
Yeah, or at
respirator it
least
up.
let it get like jelly, so you could scoop it up in gloops or
Yeah,
something, you know?
yeah. I
But if
mean,
you had to
if
work
you
in
have a
that
drain,
space right
I mean, if you
away,
have a drain or something, obviously stop it from going down the drain, like a floor drain in your room. Like make sure you don't just have gallons of glaze going down this floor drain that's going into the sewer or whatever. Look at you.
what was that Disney show like back in the day where the girl becomes like the other person and she goes down the drain in the garage? That's what that reminds me of. Oh, was it like Alex and something? I don't remember.
In a movie?
Yeah, it was like a movie. She turned into like Flubber or something. Anyway, that was like a Disney 90s Disney moment.
I don't recognize that movie, but
Anyway, uh Um, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough, like, it's not really tough. Like, in the moment, you're going to try and clean up as much of it as possible and
yeah.
be very mad at yourself.
I think the color of the glaze would depend, though. Like, if it's red,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Because, I mean,
Ugh.
like some of that stuff, if you have a red, right, you're cleaning it up, you're sponging it up. I imagine I have a bucket there that's probably my reclaim bucket, or I mean, I would be tempted to clean up what I could and like throw it in my slop bucket that is my like what I clean my tools off in when I glaze so that it
Yeah.
becomes a mystery glaze.
Oh, I
I'd
would
probably do
definitely
that
put it in that. I'd definitely put it in that.
so that I'm not
Because
just
you're going
throwing
to
it right
sieve
in the
sieve it
trash.
off anyway. Is it sieve or sieve?
I don't know. I say sieve.
Okay, I'm sure I'm wrong. So sieve it
I'm
is.
not sure. So
Did I tell you the story about when Tidbit fell in the glaze?
yes, I think you
Was
showed me
that on
pictures of
here?
that. We talked on the podcast about it. It was a really
Okay.
old episode, but we did.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, one time Tidbit fell in my white glaze and she's a black cat. And she fell in my white glaze and got inside and there was white paw prints all over my kitchen, all over my green couch. And she was just like cowering in the corner. And it was the cutest, most saddest thing in the whole world. And she didn't even fight when I like washed her off. She was like, "I'm here for this."
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So I'd probably wait until it dries, personally.
I mean, I feel like that's acceptable. If
But
I
hey, you
couldn't
can get
wait
a
till
cool mystery glaze out of it. If your
yeah,
floor is not that dirty, like you can throw that in your mystery bucket, like mix it up.
if
It'll
my
do.
floor wasn't that dirty, I'd put it right back in the same bucket, sieve it out, and call it good.
Yeah, I'd be tempted to do that too if it was clean
Yeah,
enough.
for
Like if that
sure.
thing was on like linoleum or something, and
Yeah,
that thing
fuck
cleaned
that.
easily.
Oh my god, that's another reason. Honestly, that's another reason why if you can like get some sort of a flooring, especially like in um like a heavy duty tarp or something like that. That if you could get like some sort of a flooring that just snaps on or covers your floor, I've actually uh like that would be helpful because if you did spill something like that, then you could just kind of like take that up and clean it off like with a hose outside or something like that.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good point.
I'm a huge proponent of like whenever I put a wheel in place, I always cover the walls with shower curtains so I never have to clean up the wall. Um, and if the floor is not cement or wood or what, like I always put something down. Like when we put my wheel in the back, the floor wasn't like wipeable, so I put like vinyl tiles, like those 2x2 vinyl tiles, and I just taped them down. And taking out that in the studio was so nice. All I'd have to do was just toss them in the trash. It was
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Yeah,
My floor is concrete, so
yeah,
it's we're not like coating it with anything or
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, 30 minutes in. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Down, down, down,
All
down.
right, so we're talking about. We had a question. that spurred this. The question that we initially got was, I'd love to hear you guys talk about the ins and outs of opening and running a brick and mortar. It's been talked about, I think, in various ways, and I'd really love to hear your perspectives on how to make it happen. COVID-19 aside, of course. The pottery decent.
We're gonna talk COVID-19 like COVID-19 doesn't exist today. In a way, I guess.
So a lot of this is going to be me asking Becca questions about basically how we're like brick and mortar, because she's had experience with brick and mortar. I have not.
Well, you can attest to this because I mean, like Rachel works for Codeco, and you kind of see how that goes.
Yeah. So she actually stopped working there because it was too busy, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
But she worked there. Yeah. And you guys are friends, and you guys talk to each other on a semi-regular basis. Okay, so let's start. How are we gonna start?
What about opening? So the first kind of things that I was talking about when opening is like if you're seeking out a brick and mortar, how important is the location?
Location is absolutely everything.
Well, first you have to understand what you're using the brick and mortar for.
Yes.
Like walk-ins versus
right. So
studio
you have
to
you have to decide what. Okay. You have to decide what you're going to be using your brick and mortar for, but also a weirdly good resource that I found when I was actually opening my store was I looked up how to start a paint your own pottery business, and this lady did an entire blog post on how to start a paint your own pottery business, and it was so informative. And let's see if it is. I think it's like the first link. But yeah, anyway, so Google things and kind of like look into your demographics in your city, in your state, decide where you want to be. I would recommend if it's a class-based system, you're going to want parking, and you need to like be aware of that type of stuff. Like
the neighborhood might be important for people that might be there after dark or coming in late at night.
Yeah, I guess.
What do you mean you guess? You don't think that's really a factor of whether somebody wants to be a member there or not? If the neighborhood's terrible?
I mean, our neighborhood was terrible and people still came. I think it's more important about parking. Because if you're like on a super busy street and there's no parking around and you want to have at least 20 people in your studio at one given time, you need to be able to have them park somewhere. And whether that be there's parking in the neighborhood behind First Street or, that's fine too, but there just has to be some sort of parking available. So that's a lot of the reason why, like, I had a little bit of an issue because Monroe has kind of a parking issue, even though there is parking, but
is it like off Main Street parking?
No, yes, but also like, it's the people that haven't been to Monroe in 6 years when there wasn't any parking and they're like, there's no parking in Monroe. And there will never be parking in Monroe for those people, and that's fine. It would be similar to parking by Codeco. So that's big, like your surrounding. You should be looking at how many people are in your city, what the city looks like for development, like how many people are coming into the city. Is it a commuter city? Is it a city or a town where people stay? And
would it be a podcast if we didn't have a train going by, or
no?
I don't think we have a episode without a train.
Yeah, no, definitely not. This is a part of us, Ryan. This is in our blood.
It is. It's our third co-host.
Our third co-host, the train. Yeah, so that's big. So like, and you know what? A lot of people say that you shouldn't be opening a store in a city that's less than 70,000 people. I don't believe that's true. but the demographics of that city or town really need to be taken into consideration. Um, if it's less than 70,000 people, maybe you're not going to get by just on retail. You're going to have to start doing classes or something like that. And, but also if you are the only location within the surrounding cities, that's a good sign too. Like, when I was in Monroe, I was one of the only paint your own pottery stores within 7 cities, like
Yeah.
all the surrounding cities didn't have anything, so they would come to me from, they'd be like, oh my God, I didn't realize Monroe had this. This is so much nicer than going down to Bellevue. And so, yeah, so keep that in mind. Look at your quote unquote competition
Yeah, I feel like in
around you.
Cincinnati they would have to pick very selectively where they put it because there are
Oh,
like 5 options here
oh, absolutely. And like,
or
yeah, and
more.
you want to be a little bit different too, like if you don't want to do classes and you want to just do retail, find an artsy-ish or area, that has traffic, um, that people that will want pottery are going to be traveling down naturally anyway. So, yeah, that's big. Um, what else?
Yeah, one of my follow-ups was your hours. So how often do you need to be open when you're like a retail? Like, is it common to be open during the day for retail, or is it like a weekend
Oh,
only? Do you start weekend only based on,
that's
the
yeah, that's a
location's
good
probably going to
question.
determine that too.
What are the hours of Codeco?
They're open Tuesday through Saturday.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, they're closed Sunday. So Tuesday through Saturday, and I believe it's 12 to 5. And then
Okay.
on
That's
Friday, I think they're open till 7 on Fridays.
okay. Yeah,
It
it
might
definitely
change
depends on your
depending on the
town,
time of
right?
year, but
Yeah, and it depends on the town. Like in Monroe, being open after 5 o'clock was not ever
because
gonna
it's
get you
like, do
anything.
you cater to people that work 9 to 5s? Like, or,
At the end of the day, it's like it depends on this town. Like if there's a lot of people out at night, then yes. But like, you have to kind of survey the town and see what's going on there. But yeah, what the biggest thing I would say um, is to be open a consecutive amount of days. So don't if you want 2 days off, you're gonna have to make those together because being closed on a Wednesday and then being closed on a Sunday confuses the shit out of people. So
yeah.
so and it's so much easier to just be like we're open Thursday through Sunday. Like when I was towards the end I was open only Thursday through Sunday. It worked out great for me. And having 3 days off was fantastic. Um
Yeah.
and because that's when the most of my sales were anyway. Um, but yeah, that's my biggest thing is to have consecutive days open. Um, you know, Obviously we are all consumers, and so kind of look at the stores that you like and see what they do that you don't like or that you do like and make your, and you can kind of like look at it towards that. But yeah, I think that 12 to 5 is great. Very few, like, unless you're doing paint your own pottery, very few people are going to come in before like noon. Um, and, but like
Who's the demographic for the paint your own pottery mainly?
kids, like, there's a
Kids.
lot of little
Like
kids that
young
come in.
families with
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. And so that's that, right? And then, but like, yeah, if you had a retail space, there's no point in being open before noon. Nobody's up before noon. Nobody that buys art is up before noon. I feel like.
Or
Um,
they'll, at the earliest, they might go on their lunch hour and go stop in when
right.
you just open because they know they can
Totally.
get that errand run during
Taken
their
care of,
lunch.
yeah. Yeah.
If it's like picking up pottery that's been fired or something like that, or hey, I need to get a Mother's Day gift and I need to go during my lunch on a Thursday.
Totally. Yeah. Um, yeah, there's a ton of places also that are retail that are by appointment only, and they do great. It's really, like I said, it's really up to your demographic in your area, but yeah.
I would hate that as a shopper. If I
What?
could only go places by appointment only, like usually when I go places, it's like a day planned ahead, maybe, or
Mm-hmm.
it could be based on like, okay, am I willing to give up 15 minutes commute there, 15 minutes back, and then 10 to 15 minutes while I'm doing it? Like, can I spare an
Right.
hour today at this time?
Yeah.
And I'll usually be like, what am I feeling like right now?
Yeah.
Can I just stay
I
for an
did by
hour?
appointment. I did by appointment only at the end. I feel like when I owned the shop, it was a lot of different, like there was a lot of experimentation, and I feel like I kind of treated it as an experiment up until the very end. But I did appointment only towards the end, especially with COVID, and it actually turned out okay. It was nice because I always knew when somebody was coming. you know, it was
Yeah.
nice
You know what
on
to
my
prepare
end.
for?
Yeah, and and I was still open certain times, right? Like I would still be open shorter hours, like 1 to 5. And then but I would be open for appointments from like 11 to 6 or 11 to 7. That way if somebody needed that time in the morning or whatever, they could schedule that appointment and I would know to be there. But that worked out really well. The biggest thing is to not confuse your clientele. That's the biggest thing.
Like, don't be changing your hours and posting new hours every week or every 2 weeks, and like, okay,
Right.
I'm not going to be here on Tuesday this week.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Consistency is definitely key
Like,
when it
it's
comes to
better to
retail.
cut down days, like you said, and figure out your schedule. Like, okay, I can do my personal errands and do X,
Mhm.
Y, and Z. Schedule my doctor appointment. Like, schedule it on days that you're not going to be there, so it doesn't have to mess with your consistent
Right.
customer.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah, totally. Now, if you are a class-based system, like a class-based retail store or brick and mortar, you do have to kind of figure out whether you want members or not, and like studio time and stuff like that. I trusted my members pretty much completely. So there was a key code in the back door and they could come in whenever they wanted to. The biggest thing was if they were there when there was no hours for the business, they just had to close the curtains so nobody could see that they were in there. Mostly just so nobody would like knock on the door and bug them. But so they were like not disturbed. But yeah, so you kind of have to like figure that out too, what works for like studio times and stuff. But yeah, so there's that. Also, I saw a question before in Instagram that was like, what? What? Sorry, you cut out.
I said, how do you determine whether you should offer classes or not? And that could factor in with the question you were talking about.
Oh yeah, like mudslinging pottery said asked whether how you know whether to go to retailer classes,
Yeah,
right?
she said, what do you think is more lucrative, having a studio with retail area or offering classes?
Well, I don't see why you can't have both. But and I'll tell you this, I'll tell you why. If you have a studio with retail space in the front, there's a lot of benefits to that. And the reason being, if you're teaching classes, um, first of all, you should always diversify your income as much as possible anyway. But you're already going to be making pottery to sell. You might as well put something up in the front, even if it's small, just to have people see it because then they'll be like, "Oh, what's this?" and they can come in. But also, when you're teaching glazing, it's really great to be like, "Let's go to the front. Let's see all the pieces I have and look around and see what pieces you like, and then we can talk about how this was glazed." So, that's another reason why it's really nice to have like a showroom. Um, but yeah, I mean, like you may not have a ton of sales from your showroom, especially initially, but it's not hurting you in any way to have a little showroom. And if you're doing a class-based system, that showroom could be by appointment only, and then you have classes. You don't have to make that necessarily open all the time if you're
Mm-hmm.
a production style pottery. That's like that. That's that whole issue, like not
Is that where
issue.
you like lock the front door if it's not retail hours and the members come in a different door, or
Yeah.
they have key code to get in
Yeah.
because you don't want customers coming in the same door as the members if the studio or gallery's not open?
Yeah. And I mean, like, but also, if you have a bell on the front, which you should, by the way, if you have something that's indicating that somebody's there, then why not just have it open? If you're gonna be there, you might as well just have it open. Um, I've definitely seen stores that were like, "We're open when we're open. You guys can suck it." Um, but, if that's not your main income, then don't treat it like that. Um,
Is it a factor at all? I was thinking about the gallery space. Is it a factor at all to have one part of your space that is clean and tidy and like presentable?
yeah, I think it's great.
I think it's nice to be able to like, okay, I want to go work on my computer in the gallery space because there's a counter that's clean. That's not in my studio.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so nice to have a space in the front that's like clean. Yeah, absolutely. Also, as far as classes versus retail go, this is what you're looking at for classes. You're looking at it's a set time, which is nice. It's mostly profit except for you teaching, quote unquote. There's some cost in the materials, but not very much. Uh, Not only that, but you get a lot of community. But what I would say, if you're going to have a teaching-based system, this is something that Larry told me, and I did not listen. Start, start small and move your way up. Um,
What is small?
the
Is that the number of wheels you have or the number of
Yeah, like the
students
number
you
of wheels, the
accept?
number of students,
The
because
number of
you will
classes?
suck. Yeah, unless you've taught before, you will suck at the beginning. And you won't even realize how much you suck, but you will. And like teaching is not throwing, You know this.
Hmm.
It's a whole different ballgame to teach pottery than to throw pottery.
What's the driving factor of jumping in too quickly and too much? Is it trying to accommodate people's schedules because they can't fit into your schedule? And you're like, I'm only doing this class on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. And they're like, well, I can't do Wednesday. Can you do Thursday? And you're like, yeah, let's try Thursday. And now you have a Wednesday and Thursday class because you have a student that wants to do it, and you can
Yeah.
try a daytime and a nighttime class. Is that like how you grow too big, or is it seeing the
I
dollar
think
signs and you're like, while this equipment's sitting here, I can make more money on it?
I think it's more the money.
Time for the class.
It's like seeing it and being like, I don't know if I can manage the money or like I can make enough money doing this. You really need to have a good business plan going into owning a retail store. Like any business, you should have a good business plan. But but um but especially you need to know your costs and what's involved, and a lot of the reason that people don't make it is because there's a lot of money going out but not a lot of money coming in, and it can be like really tough, but you just have to. But you know in my mind, now after so many years of doing weird things, I would much rather have my shit together and teach a few people first and kind of like work my way up than do what I did and teach a ton of people. Like the first class session that I had, I think I had 18 students.
Holy
And
shit!
like not like
Not
over
at
four
once.
class. Yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
over four classes. Um I think I had like 18 students. And
Oh,
I
I
did
thought you meant at once.
okay. Thankfully a lot of them were my friends. But
Yeah.
um
So
but looking
what's the loss there? Is it your time and your like stress that's going to be aggravating?
Yeah, it is stressful, but the loss is that you're not creating
You're
when you
not
start.
nurturing a small group.
Yeah, when you start and you're doing like a big thing, you're not giving the students that you have you're 100%. 18 students or 6 students in a class that you're not prepared for, um, you're not creating members. You're creating people that will take one class and then they'll leave. You want to create people that will take one class and say, when's the next class? Like, I want to be here. I want to continue doing this in the studio because I like it here and I want this to be my community. If you overwork yourself at the beginning, you're going to lose all those people. Like, I didn't have anybody from the beginning carry on until the end, but once I started figuring out how to teach classes and once I started figuring out how to build a community, all of those people stayed. And all of those people were devastated when I left,
Yeah.
as was I. But like, that's, it's really about, so yeah, having classes can be extremely lucrative, but having a community is even way more lucrative. So having people that spend their money on you every month consistently is what you should be, I think, what you should be striving for. Like, we'll use Larry Bruning as an example. He had 70 students when I was going there. 70.
This was a huge. Was this a big studio?
Yeah, it's 5,000 square feet, 8 wheels in the back. And
8 wheels,
when
70 students. That's a lot.
a lot of classes, I think he had about 70. Um, and, you know, you paid a certain amount, but after 2 years, you got a discount. Like after you were there for 2 years, you got this like, hey, you're a member, like you get clay cheaper and you get your class cheaper. You get this discount, right? That's like, hey, this is our community and this is, you know, you get a little bit of a kickback for being here. Not only that, but you get the trust of the people there. But yeah, like he had been teaching for 35 years, so he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
But like, it's really important to create like a sustainable system that works. And using other people's models is a really good idea because they've done it right, you know? I feel
Does
like
the
I
does the initial cost of the equipment like factor into it? Because I feel like I would be comfortable getting like if I were to start and do teaching classes, like I would feel comfortable with like 4 wheels,
Mhm.
maybe in addition to my 1 wheel,
Yeah.
and then maybe a table area that you could teach like a 4-person hand building. So like start with a 4-person hand building class and a 4-person wheel class, or just start with wheel because that's what I'm most comfortable with. Like, is that reasonable to be like, okay, I'm going to teach my first class,
Yeah.
maybe one of each, and do like 6 weeks of a class, see how it goes, see the next one, if that feels, maybe see if you can add a third, but like, you know,
Yeah,
that's
I
what I would,
definitely.
that's how I would approach it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. But yes, I think to the point of this whole thing was yes, class-based systems can be extremely lucrative. I still think you should have a showroom though. You should have some sort of
Yeah.
retail. Unless you are in the shittiest part of town, then don't have one at all. You just make it a class-based system and you don't need a
Because it's
like
going to be
little
a waste
retail.
of space or,
Yeah, it'll be a waste of space and especially if you're an ultra introvert. You don't need that kind of shit in your life. Um, but yeah. Oh, let's talk about the equipment at the beginning. Like, I I have a
I
lot of
would
friends that have
not want to
started.
spend the money.
Right. I have a lot of friends that have started restaurants from scratch that have gotten $50,000 loans for that, and that was on the low end. Um,
Jeez.
I've I've always approached my studios with a I will build it as it comes situation. Like we built out the front and I spent very little money on the front. But the back half was kind of like built as it grew. I initially got a $10,000 loan, and I built the entire studio from that $10,000, and I just paid it off when I left. Um, but
For the
so
showroom, all the wheels, all the tables, all the
mhm.
lumber and glaze materials and kilns and everything.
Yeah, and we're talking bare bones, like bare bones. And so lots of wood used as tables, lots of, you know, hand-me-downs. Like I had a friend who owned a soap shop, and she gave me all of her really nice IKEA um, islands, and that's what we use for our hand building tables. And so like scrounging up all the things that you can get. But yeah, so I used $10,000. My space was 3,000 square feet. And not a lot of people could get away with that. I already had a lot of stuff. I already had some of the kilns.
And
I
the
already
big
had a
shelving
couple
unit too.
wheels. Yeah, I made a lot of stuff. I made so many shelves, and those were just by 2x4s and 1x1, or 2x2s and 2x4s, and just wear boards. It was not very attractive, but what's great about having a pottery studio is that when you say, I'm sorry, it's a mess, people come in and they're like, it's art. It's supposed to be messy. Um, that's so great. I love
Yeah.
that. But yeah, so really like you need to have a business plan to kind of like map out the expenses that you want. And if you want it to look really nice, you're going to have to spend a little bit more money. Um, nice things cost money. Making things look nice usually costs a little bit of money, if not time. Also, you have to consider how long you're going to take to set up your space. So sometimes your landlords are really nice and they'll be like, yeah, you have 4 months or 2 months of unpaid rent, and then it starts on January. Like, let's say you rent it out at January 1st, and then you don't have to pay anything January, February, and then you start paying in March.
Wait,
And
that's
that's
a thing?
ideally, that is a thing. You can negotiate those type of things, or you pay half. Yes, you can negotiate those type of things,
Hmm.
especially if you're building out a space to make it better. So if you're building out a space to make it better, you can be like, hey, I'm going to be putting a shit ton of money into your building to make it look nice. Like,
But
let's
how are
talk about.
you, but like, are you actually, are you just doing stuff within the four walls that's going to improve it? Rather, that's going to just make it look good for your stuff? Because
Yeah,
if you
but
don't change, like,
even
you're not
then,
changing flooring and all that shit, right?
a
You're not
ton of
like,
people change flooring. Tons of
well,
people.
I'm talking about what you did. Like, did you,
Not what I did, but we're not talking about what I'm doing. I'm saying
okay.
that in a lot of scenarios you can negotiate your rent and stuff like that to start when you open up your business. I did not have that luxury because my landlord was Greek and cheap. God bless you, Terry, wherever you are. He never even fixed my awning. I had to rip it down myself, and then they put up an ugly brown awning after I left. Anyway, moving on. uh, I had a month to get it ready and start it. So I signed the lease on November 1st, and I opened on December 1st. That is not typical.
I mean,
It does not.
ideally, you should have a stockpile of money anyways that gives you confidence that you can make it through rent.
Right.
You're not getting rent with a loan in mind that I'm going to get a loan to get me through the like first few months of rent.
A
You should
lot
already
of
have
people
money
do that,
saved, right?
Ryan. I'm not saying it's a good idea, but a lot of people do that. His face right now is like, God.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. But I didn't know. I thankfully had I thankfully had income from other places, set up. So it wasn't an issue as much for me. But uh yeah, so just map out your costs, figure out how much you're going to need. If you need to get a loan, get the loan. But
What
Make
is the
sure that
extent of the loan? Is that going to be your bare essentials to get it up and going? It's not getting fancy stuff like let's say you drop half of that money into your retail space to make it look super nice, but
mhm.
you just don't get the foot traffic and you're not going to get those sales that you expect just because it looks really fucking nice. Like, is that a sunken cost that is better to work your way up?
Well, it depends on what you want, because if it does look really nice, then you might get the people that you want. But also, part of that money needs to go towards a sign. Like, there's a lot of things that are essential to a business, especially a brick and mortar, that people don't necessarily think of right off the bat. But the first thing that really you should be getting is a fucking sign. Because if you don't have a sign, then nobody knows you're there. And
That's true.
especially if you're in a town, like if you're on a main street or something like that, you need to have a sign, and one that people can read, and also one that has like pointed words on it. Like, I never had a sign, and I feel like I was a super success for that fact, that I like never got a sign.
I was just thinking, I was like, "Do you have a sign?" I think
No, I
you
had
had
a
it written
little
on the
thingy in the
floor.
window. I had a thing in the window that had like the name, but like our town was a drive-through town. Like Main Street was a main road that people would drive through to go to another town, essentially. And had I had a sign, I think I would have been a lot more successful. But the fact that I didn't have a sign and I was successful means that I did okay. um,
How
but
more successful could you have been with the sign?
I think one of my friends, this is not stated in fact, but I think one of my friends said that once you get a sign, it increases your business by almost 30%. 30%. That's not based in
So
fact, but
it would pay itself off. That's
it would pay yourself off. And also, do not think that a sign is not going to be expensive. They're fucking expensive. Like, get, I
you can
got a few
imagine it will
quotes.
be expensive.
I got a few quotes for a sign because 2019 was going to be my sign year, and because I had plans for a sign.
I think that's like
2019 was,
5 grand.
yeah, like 3 to 5 grand is like, well, if you wanted to get like a kind of a shitty one, you could probably be like 1.5 to 2.
Is that a
But
lit
if you want a
sign or
really
is
nice,
that not lit?
that's not lit. If you want a really nice sign that's potentially lit up on, the face, you're looking at 3 to 5 grand. And also, like if you want to put vinyl on your awning or something like that, that's really important. I think that it's really important too to like think about your sign, and yeah, if you have like a weird business name, that's all fine and dandy, but you need to have something up there like, okay, if I was going to put a sign up for Five Lines Pottery, which doesn't say anything about me teaching classes, I would put a sign up that says Five Lines Pottery, and then on the awning, I would put paint your own pottery classes and like retail on it. That way, it's like, oh, that's a paint your own pottery. There's classes there, and they have retail. Like that would be
Yeah.
like whatever I'm trying to sell the most is what I'm going to put. Like, I specifically remember driving by Bruning Pottery for the first time in 2013, and I saw Bruning Pottery, and then all I really saw was pottery classes. And I was like, oh, I should stop in there because that was what I wanted. And so
Right.
you need to put what people want on your sign.
Even if
That's
it's
my,
just like, hey, paint your own pottery, and somebody
yeah,
passes by and they just see it, and they're like
yeah,
talking with a friend or something 2 weeks down the road, and they're like talking about paint your own pottery. We went and did this years ago.
yeah.
There's something to do. Oh, there's a shop
Even
that
if
I drove
you
by.
don't even if you don't have a fucking sign that says your business name, it should say something like pottery classes. Paint your own pottery. Like it has to say something. Like,
I was
also
just
don't
thinking
have an
about.
awning that's ripped.
I was just thinking about this because there's a barbecue place down the street that I drive by that I hate that it doesn't have this. Do you have an open sign?
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't have it, and it just has a bunch of writing all over the windows. And it's one of those where it's barbecue, where it's like selective times that they're open, because they could sell out or
Sell
whatever,
out.
or they have limited days because barbecue is not cheap to make. So they're in kind of a sellout, you know, um, retail. So they have to sell out or else they're not making their money. Because barbecue's expensive. But that's one thing that upsets me is I drive by there and I'm like, I would like some barbecue, but I would be more upset if I showed up and I expected barbecue and they're closed.
Yeah, it would be frustrating. Yeah, you should get a light up open sign when it lights up. Like, don't just get the paper one that says, "We'll be back" on the back with the. You need two. Have the paper one that says, "Open" or "We'll be back in 10 minutes." And then we need also the one that lights up that potentially blinks that gets people's attention.
Yes, that's all they would need. And I would stop in there on my drive. I would be
That's
more
it.
upset stopping and not getting barbecue because I get excited about barbecue. So I'm like,
I know
I'm getting
you do.
barbecue. I'm like, fuck, they're not open.
Fucking barbecue. Yeah, no, that's a very good point. Having an open sign is actually one of those things that I feel like, ugh. Also, hours on your door, like on your window or on your door with your hours
Or
are
on
really important
Google
as well.
too. Like, get those things on Google.
Oh, yes, let's talk about Google. Also, I don't know, now when people search my business, it just says permanently closed. Be-
Because it is.
be- It is permanently closed, but I don't know how to like take it off of Google Maps.
Don't you
Um,
own that business? I mean, don't you own the Google pin and stuff? Like, just change the address to it or something.
I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, I
Anyway,
have that for mine.
that's above my pay grade. So, um, but yeah, you should definitely be signing up with Google and putting your brick and mortar on the Google and putting the hours there and putting up pictures and trying to get your friends to review the place so it looks like there's reviews. Um,
Yeah, because people just go into Google, type pottery classes, and you
mhm,
want to be one of those that come up.
exactly. Yeah, and also use like keywords like if you want paint your own pottery or pottery class. Um, yeah.
I just looked at the
Uh,
barbecue place. It's open noon to 8, Thursday through Sunday.
sure it is. We'll never know because they don't have an open sign.
Yeah, what the hell?
The hell. Yeah. That's
I had some other questions on here. Let's see. What about? I had some consistency things. Like, how do you generate foot traffic consistently? Is it because I mean you need to get people in there, whether it's retail or classes. How were you able to market the business that it was there and that to get people to come back? Was it
yeah.
sales? Was it like putting stuff on your website? How did you kind of market to get people to come back?
Well, I mean, there's a couple ways I feel like that you can do. Let's take this as a class-based system because I would say that the majority of the people listening potentially I think are looking at opening up a brick and mortar that has also like a class-based system with it. There are very few that have galleries, just galleries, and typically those are in tourist locations that already have the foot traffic. If you're opening up a gallery in a really small town, um, like Danny has a gallery in a really small town. I don't know how it does, but you're kind of a destination. You have to be a destination. Like you almost have to be like famous enough for people to be like, oh, I want to go there. So let's assume that we have a class-based system and plus with an additional gallery added onto it. I'm a huge proponent in Facebook because I feel like Facebook is locals mostly. Facebook really caters to the local community, especially if you're in a small community. If you're in a larger community, it can be a little bit harder, but usually there's like a downtown indie page or a Leavenworth, Washington page or something like that that you can always be advertising on consistently. Um, One thing that I've done that has been really great is, well, I have friends, but keep in mind that I'm very well connected. But, you can go to your local pizza place and say, like, hey, I have these coupons. Would you be able to put them on your pizza boxes? Or I can put them on your pizza boxes. Can you put them out with every pizza box that goes out? Like a local pizza place. Not Pizza Hut, but just like a local pizza place. And that puts things out in your radius, like in your community radius, um, with
That's a
like
good point.
coupons. Yeah, with like coupons and stuff. You can go to like local craft fairs, farmers markets, and advertise that you have a location. Go to your chamber of commerce and talk to
Is
your
that
chamber of
ones that
commerce.
you're? Is that shows that you're selling at? You just when you have it with your business card, like have your address on the business card. Is that what you mean, or are you talking about
Yeah,
like
and
as a
just talk to
shopper?
people and be like, "Oh yeah, I own a store in downtown. Uh, where do you live? Southgate, downtown South, like Southgate, Kentucky. I have a store right in downtown." Um, and talk to people there. You need to be meeting. I know it sounds stupid, but like knowing the other business owners in your community is really important to your growth. Because they'll recommend you and you can recommend them, and that's super important. Again, Facebook, free. It's free, and you can use it to your advantage. You can always have little sales and stuff. Um, we would always do downtown events. Like all the shops would get together and we would advertise on Facebook and also in town and like have a little charm walk with all the little boutiques in town, and all the people have to go to every single store and they have to get their own charm, but that means people are coming into your door and they're finding out that you're there. There's all these different types of events that will kind of like show up, but using other businesses to your advantage is super helpful. You know,
So like
um,
getting familiar with when their foot traffic is around and when their popular days are, so that you can like
yeah.
I'm saying if you know that people come out to this bar down the street on Friday nights, have something out front with a sandwich board, for instance, showing that people when they're walking by the bar or when they're going to dinner next door, you might
Yeah.
be open longer that day because people are coming out for dinner on Friday night. That's what
Right.
I'm talking
Or
about.
you could team up with that restaurant and say, hey, could you pass out these coupons to your patrons with their bill? And be like, hey, there's a place next door that is open for business. It's open right now. Um, like, I cannot stress enough that you should be making friends with the business owners that are around you. They will help you out more than anybody else.
Mhm.
Because
Well,
if
because
you can't,
they want the neighborhood to flourish too. So
yeah,
if
yeah,
you
totally.
cater to a certain customer base, it doesn't that they might not already be catering to. They might
Yeah,
not bring uh, that customer into town, but you might be bringing them into town.
yeah, yeah. So I guess that's what the way that, and I mean, I understand that Instagram is really great with marketing and stuff like that. I've always felt like Instagram is really great with marketing externally and online, not necessarily locally. So that's why I say Facebook as opposed to Instagram. Um, but if your Instagram base is local, then that's great. I've never experienced a local Instagram base, so I can't really say to that.
Use more local hashtags.
Yeah, you could do that for
I
sure.
do.
Yeah. Um, Also, especially if you're a clay class related situation, going to your local clay supplier and saying, hey, can I put up a flyer on your bulletin board saying that I have classes? You can do the good old fashioned paper with the rip-offs with your phone number.
Yeah.
That's Don't be above it, I'd say. Um, Coupons are good. I've Just make sure you put an expiration date on them.
If you have a local clay guild or something, like,
Yeah.
would you offer? I feel like you almost have to offer something for free to give people a taste of what you know.
Mm.
Like maybe you offer to do a free demo or something, and people just happen like at the end you bookend it with, "Hey, by the way, I do classes here."
Yeah. Oh, also, if you're doing a class-based system, going to your local schools is a really great way to do that. And like homeschool people, that is huge. Like if you wanted to get into like kids and stuff, if you're doing classes, homeschool systems, they're always looking for things to do. And so if you can find a homeschool group and be like, hey, I offer these classes, then they'll probably jump on that. Or going to your local high school and asking if you can do a demo and then telling the kids that you do classes is really good. I'm trying to figure out where I advertised a lot of my classes. It was mostly online. I feel very lucky.
I
But
feel like you could subtly do it. Like there's a local plant shop near me that does a live at 5 on Thursdays, I think, or they used to, and they would do like plant sales. But I
oh,
feel like you
nice.
could kind of take that and build consistency. Do an she did it on Facebook, so do like a Facebook Live at a certain time, and maybe you're just doing a wheel demonstration for 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Doing a
totally.
consistent day, consistent time of the week, and then you always have a subtle like, here's when my classes are next, or
Hmm.
signing up for classes now, and you get those regular people to come back, and then maybe there's some incentive for them to share. Maybe if they share and they sign up for a class, they get a $10 off or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, also, something that seems really stupid and simple that Ron would always say is door closed, door open, store open. So keep your door open. Keep keep the door open. Like open up the fucking door. If it's
Literally,
snowing,
not
open the
unlock,
door.
open the door.
Open the door. Like all the way open so people don't have to open the door, they just walk through the door. Open the door. If you're on a main street that people walk down, open it. Um that's huge. That's
Hmm,
huge.
I thought of that.
It's not it's something that I ever thought of before Ron said it. He's like, door closed, door closed. And I was like, oh
I mean,
jeez.
that could be as simple as like they grab the door, they try to pull it. It's a push door, and they're like, "Well, must be closed."
Must be
You're
closed.
like, no, you just didn't
Yeah.
push the door, or it sticks.
Yeah. He was like, we do it every single day of the year. If it's snowing outside, the door's still open. Just turn the heater on.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, it's big. It's actually it works quite well. I never had it open because of the cat. Sometimes I
Yeah.
would just leave the, you know, with Tidbit, it was no problem at all. I could leave it open all day. She would never go anywhere, but
Yeah.
not Lloyd, not Floyd either. Um,
I
yeah.
had another question
Okay, what's up?
that may cater to some people. So let's say they're in your situation a few years ago. They have a space in their home, but they need
Okay.
more space. So they're basically getting the space. You could call brick and mortar public. They are like they can do retail, but they really are getting it for the more additional room for doing their own stuff. But they happen to have retail like a gallery. How do they approach that? Are they, um, I guess, like a working studio with gallery add-on? Like, how do they approach that? Is it basically, hey, I'm just trying to get more efficient so that I have more space and room to fulfill my orders and have my business grow so that I could pay off the rent kind of thing? Like, if that's the main concern versus I need to sell retail so that I can, like, grow a community. It's more like I need more space personally.
Right, I need more space personally. What I would recommend is if you need more space personally and you don't like people and you don't want people to interrupt your shit, don't open a store.
Is that still considered? That's just a remote studio then.
Yeah, just build a fucking studio and pay it off. Like, buy a shed for $2,000 and build it out. It's going to be cheaper in the long run and you'll be much happier.
Is that because you're not paying rent to somebody that owns a space and you don't have any ownership over that space? Like they could sell it and you have to find a different place, or
Yeah, no, it's because, well, you have to be kind of crazy to own a store, first off. I feel like you kind of have to have that like crazy retail bug because everybody knows if you've ever worked in retail that customers are fucking nuts. So keep that in mind. But like if your whole purpose of owning a store is because you need more space, you just need more space. You don't need to own a store. You just need more space. Now,
what if they have
if
that
your
itch to have a retail,
then if they
but
have the itch to
but they need
if
more space?
okay, if they well, here's the thing. It's kind of like a catch-22 because if you have retail and you need more space, your time is sucked away too. You might have more space, but that doesn't mean you have more time. You have to
That's
cater
what I'm.
to that
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to.
okay. I kind of missed the beginning of your question because you
No,
cut
that
out. So
I know. I figured you were kind of blank there. So,
yeah.
like somebody that comes to mind is like Amanda at Doghouse Pottery. Like she needed the additional space, but she also
Yeah.
has the retail in the front. I'm not sure if Rachel from Hillbippy. I think she still produces a lot in her home too, but she could have a working studio as well as retail.
I think at one point, if I remember correctly, she tried to have a studio in her in her retail space and then she moved it back home because she realized that there was not much time to be
Was that
done.
time separation of,
Yeah.
hey, I need me time to work and I need you
Yeah.
time to shop.
If you want to make your retail space good, you need to devote your time to that retail space. If you want to create really good pieces and make really great pieces, but you need more space, you need something that's closed to the public so that you can create those pieces with that time that like that you need. You don't, especially if you have a business online, you don't necessarily need a space. Like for instance, Sean and Valeri, they have a retail space, but they're in a tourist town and they have their studio space in a completely separate location. So I'm sure they have employees that man that space, but that was specifically to sell their wares in Orcas Island. And like that was specific.
And it probably
That
cuts
wasn't
down the number of interactions they would have people coming to the studio. Like, yes, I could
right.
sell my stuff, but you would have to come to my studio and take time away from my time working to
Correct. So
fulfill
that
your
made
order.
total sense, right? And at that point, they have that gallery space to store all of their finished work that's not selling, which is a great plus, right? And they can just pull from that gallery space if they need something to sell online. That's really nice. But yeah, I would say if you need more space, then you need more space. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need a retail space. And retail is hard and it sucks a lot of the time. Yes, it is very rewarding if you have a class-based system, but just because and he's saying this because this is exactly why I started a retail space because I needed more space. And I was like, it's fine.
Partially.
I'll just have a 3,000 square foot retail space and I'll do all my production and all the things. And then by the end of it, I was so burned out and I hated life and I hated people and it was terrible.
But I'm sure it's a big thing that people move into a space like that because they need more space and they want to have a working studio that also sells their work.
Yeah.
Because it's like I've never had retail because I've always had a working studio and I've never had enough room for the retail. So they're
Yeah.
like, I can have both as long as you could balance both. But the timing is kind of what I was getting at of like,
Yeah.
hey, it's going to take time away because you need to focus on all the niceties to make it look good, as well as just like doing retail shit.
Yeah. I can count. There's one person that I know that has a retail space plus a production space that is like ultra efficient. There's one person that I know that's made it successful. Um, Everybody else that I know that has a retail type situation that they moved into a larger space because they needed more space and they decided that they were going to sell pieces on top of that have moved their space back to their house. This is after a while. Like, there's still a lot of people still in the exploration stage of this that I know, but, and I'm not going to name any names, but most of the people that I know that got a retail space because they needed more space ended up moving their kilns back to their house and firing at home and making it home and then going in to the retail space and maybe glazing there or like doing very small tasks that they could
That
do
they
while they were there.
and they can't get distracted, and
Exactly.
they can bounce back and forth quickly.
Right. So I would pose caution when you think that, like, think in that those terms. I'm not saying that it's not doable. I think it's very doable, but I really think it's important to know why you're getting into something in the first place, what the base reason is, and also think about your people skills and how much you like people. And well, it's really important. You laugh, but it's really important to
No,
like
I
know that
get it.
about
Like,
yourself.
if you're drained from people, you can't be as efficient with your work and like have good quality work if you're getting distracted every 20 minutes.
Yeah, because you will get distracted every 20 minutes. And
It's already hard for you to focus. Like, you need that time by yourself with a TV on and a movie in the background that's just background noise versus
yeah.
I'm going to have a customer that could walk in any minute. That's way different than a movie that's just playing on in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially with things that are time sensitive, you can't do those things because if somebody walks in and takes up 30 minutes of your time and you have a wet slab of clay in the back that you just have to leave right there, that's, that can't happen. You have to have some sort of a system, like something that you can be doing. Like I would glaze a lot when the store was open because I can drop that at any time. But
Right. And
yeah.
you can't like load a
Um
kiln because the kiln's in the very back, or maybe you could. And then you like walk from the back and you're like, let me know if you have any questions. And then you're like, do you have to linger around the front? Because if they have questions, you can't like be all the way in the back.
right. Yeah, a couple years ago, Rebecca and I were looking at a space for her that was much larger than the space she's in now. And she had a plan of having like retail and classes and stuff like that. And she eventually ended up choosing not to do that. And I think like a couple weeks ago, she was like, God, I'm so glad I chose not to do that. Um, just because what she needed was more space. She didn't need all those extra things, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Because it's like you've got the space, you've got to use it.
yeah.
And it's like, what can I do to use it? Because
Right.
then you're working with way more personalities because you got customers, you got member personalities, you've got employee personalities, you've got your own personality of like what you can handle.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the just factor of the extra people is like un um it's like an unknown that's hard to measure, but it
Yeah.
has a big impact.
Mhm.
Especially the time thing. I can foresee the time thing. I can foresee stuff like that. Like when Rachel talks about like moving or something like that. I foresee the time commitment and the lost time when you start over of all the work that's gone into this thing, and you're like, you move and it's like, okay, now I got to figure out how to wind my studio down or move my things over efficiently so that I don't stop one day and have no production for 4 months and then start that 4 months down the road and still have like the quality and consistency that I want. Something like that is like I can see the time lost and the unknowns and the money that's going to happen
Yeah.
there. And that's the kind of stuff that I think about when situations like this come up where you're like, do I want to open this? It's like, what's going to change? Like, what can I handle? This whole thing about like the people person and like, how do you do at shows? Because if you can interact with customers at a show and you enjoy it, that's a consistent 6 hours. Like, can you do that 3 days a week, all the
Yeah.
time.
And can you handle children running around your space? Regardless of whether it be a paint your own pottery but you have to remember that you're ceramics. You will be in ceramics if you're listening to this podcast. The likelihood of you opening a store that doesn't have something that's breakable is slim. And can you handle a mom coming in with her 4 children and them running around and and you being like, please don't touch? Like, you know, honestly, I will say that it kind of was a blast. The when it was busy and when there was a ton of people in there and pre-COVID and when kids were just going crazy, it was kind of a blast. Um, but yeah, you have to think about all the things.
If you
All
had
the
to
things.
decide between doing only paint your own pottery or only teaching classes, what would you choose?
I'd do
Wh-
paint your own pottery.
Okay, like the lucrative side of it as well as just the effort that's required on your side
Oh my
and the
God, yeah.
planning and
And
stuff.
honestly, it's so fun to see what little kids paint on mushrooms. And it's just,
I feel like it's so easy. You just don't do a quick like
it
little 3 minute
is.
description and let them do what they want to do. And
I'm I'm a little bit frustrated that cuz originally I was like, okay, I'm going to have classes and then I'll do a few paint your own pottery stuff, but it'll only be my stuff, only be the pieces that I made. And then it morphed into this huge thing and there was all paint your own pottery and um God, I was gonna have such a good fucking year in 2020 and then fucking COVID. Um, but but yeah, it's so easy, especially if you're doing low fire stuff. Glazing it is a piece of cake. You just dip everything in clear and it's no fuss, no muss. I actually don't even know how all these all these people that have paint your own pottery places, I was part of a bunch of groups and they were like, I don't understand why this is crawling. And what's happening here? I'm like, oh my God, these people. like, you know,
because they
um,
don't have the ceramics knowledge,
yeah, a little
and
bit, but
they're
I
kind of
guess
like ass backwards into the paint your own pot. They
yeah, and
didn't
they
come
don't
from like
know how to
loving
fire
ceramics.
their kilns correctly, and it's no fault to their own. It's just that it's just a different background. But yeah, it was just so easy and like so satisfying too, and almost instant gratification. And your customers are almost always happy unless their pieces get thrown away and or given away on accident.
Given
But
away, other people like pick them up.
yeah, but yeah, it is a lot of fun in that regard. But yes, I would definitely do paint your own pottery instead of classes. It's just
I just feel like the class schedule of having to be like, all right, I'm at the end of the 6 weeks. But before the 6 weeks is over, you got to be planning like halfway through that 6 week class for the next 6 week class,
mm-hmm.
and make sure you can like it's never stopping.
Yeah,
Like
it's
when
always
I
a cycle.
like at Baker Hunt when I'm teaching, they're asking for proposals like 2 weeks into an 8 week class for the
Mm-hmm.
next session, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, totally. And I'm not really a planner, so on my classes I kind of just take them as they come. And that's why I wasn't a great teacher. I am a good teacher, but I'm not a good long-term teacher. But yeah, you do have to plan a lot in advance, and that was the hard part for me. But, you know, um also I should mention this. If you guys ever want to open a paint your own pottery store, I marked those up 5 times. 5 times.
5 times, and that includes firing and everything.
Yeah, a lot of people no. $5 painting fee plus the item. But you could paint 15 things and only have $5. But So the
What's the
paint's
painting fee for? Is that basically to cover the materials?
yeah, the glazes and the clay and the firing, because like little kids will squirt like half the bottle into their palette, and that just covers that. Um, but like, yeah, like, you have these mighty tots and those retail, I think they're like $1.10, 89 cents, something like that. Maybe $1.80. And I'd mark them up almost 5 times. They were $6.50.
What are
And
you
I
talking
mean,
about? Mighty Tots? Is that a bisque piece?
yeah, like a bisque piece that was like $1.80 maybe, or like $1.50, I think, wholesale. And you get them, and then you put them out on the shelf, and they're $6, $6.50. And moms pay so much money for that stuff. And at first, I
Well,
felt
because you're
really
paying for
bad.
the experience. You're not paying
Yeah,
for the piece. You're paying for the 2.5 hours you have with your child while you're
right. But also, they
masturbating.
have those pieces forever. They put them up on their mantle, and they have
Right.
them forever. Like, how long is your mom gonna have those little owls that we painted for your nephew? Um, like forever. I
Yeah.
know you will, Dietrich. Um,
Or I was thinking the gnome. I don't remember the owls.
oh well, Molly painted her a little owl thing and sent it to her.
Oh, okay.
Because we didn't have one that she could paint. But anyway, yeah, like it's the memories and stuff like that, and it's just it's so much fun. Yes, if I was gonna redo any part of the business that I had in Washington, it would be the paint your own pottery part. It's so easy, it's so satisfactory. You can make so much money if you do it right, and it's all smiles all around, all smiles
I feel like
most of the
it's
time.
is it partially because the people that you're interacting with are like they're not in the clay like medium, like they don't know clay that much, so they're
Right.
just doing it for a different experience that's fun.
Yeah. They love to paint,
Yeah.
Yeah,
There's
totally.
I wanted to shout out somebody that is a paint your own pot that's learning clay and she's been figuring out like making handles and she's been like it's somebody that you just talk with them and we've talked through like like
Yeah.
um stories back and forth. It's just like when you have that personality that you're just like, oh my gosh, you're like perfect for this because they're just so excited and she's unloading kilns and so excited about what these customers are painting and stuff. Okay, so her Instagram is a sketchy art workshop. Her name is Danielle. Um, but yeah, she is great.
A sketchy? Oh, I
A
spelled that.
sketchy art workshop. She's up in Ontario.
Canada?
Yep.
I'm gonna follow you.
You should just look at some of her videos with her in it.
Oh my god, her shelves are so cute. She's got so much stuff. Her shop reminds me of my shop. How fun.
Yeah, it's super cool. And she's got like a pull-up garage door, which would be nice during like the summer. You can imagine people like painting in there with the garage door open and
How much fun is that?
yeah. So like have the personality that makes people want to be excited to come there. Like you can see her unloading your stuff out of the kiln, for instance.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's helpful that even though I'm an introvert, that nobody believes I am, but I am. Even though I'm an introvert and I don't generally love people all that much, I am very good with children and I remember everything. I have like an extremely good memory. So if a child walks in, I'll be like, "Oh my God, I pulled your mushroom out of the kiln and it looks so good." And they're like, "What?" They're like so excited.
I'm like, I
And
don't even remember what I painted.
yeah, and um, making those personal connections, like that will bring back people more and more and more and more and more. And remembering the parents' names and stuff like that is super important. And you do end up having this weird community, even if you have a weird little shop, like a retail shop or weird little paint your own pottery, you have repeat customers, like Crazy Linda. I love Linda. And and you have these people that come back time and time again, and you do create this community, and that's really what it's all about, is like, uh however you start, and like whenever you start a business and like open a store, there's a lot of things that you have to do, but the main thing that you should be focused on is the community that you're building, because the community is what's going to get you through the tough times. And
Like the tough parts of the year. I'm sure a lot of this business is seasonal.
yeah, it is really seasonal, because you would think that like summer would be a huge time, but it's not as much. Like, depending on where you are, like summer in Washington, everybody's in the mountains. So they're not going to be, painting pottery. But winter is really big, for pottery or painting or whatever. But yeah, you like create this community, and you get these people that talk about you. Word of mouth is the best communication that you can have. Oh, another thing about marketing is that, like, I remember there was this lady, somebody who has kids will probably know. I don't know if it's just Pacific Northwest, but there was this lady she had the Macaroni Kids, I think was her like blog, and she would post all these fun things for moms to do. And I was all like, she loved me, and she would always like post my store
So
and
was she
stuff.
a customer of yours?
Yeah, she like came with her kids a few times, but she lived in Snohomish, so she would always be like, "This is something that you could do this weekend." Like trying to find somebody local that's like a mom group, like, oh my God, mom groups, like get in with the moms.
Yeah.
But that's like if you have paint your own pottery. But still, even if you have retail, like,
Or like one-time workshops or something like that.
yeah, like workshops and stuff like that, it's so much fun. Um, Yeah, I don't know. There's so much you can do. Even if you have classes, like you can still do fun little like Christmas cookie cutter workshops and stuff like that. And Larry would always say kids bring the most money. If you can get something with children, you're going to make a little bit more money, because kids are the givers of money.
And they don't come by themselves.
And they
So
don't come by themselves, and usually their parents come expecting to pay money. So, yeah, but yeah. I don't really know what this whole episode was about, but it kind of like morphed into this
well,
weird
hey,
thing.
it
I
was
feel
ins
like
and out of running brick and mortar, and like I think we talked about that.
yeah, yeah. Um
Because when I think of brick and mortar, it could be a number of things. Like I just think of a space that you're basically not in your home studio. Like you are open to the public is kind of what I think of.
yeah, I mean technically your booth is a brick and mortar if you really think about it.
Yeah, it's a
Like,
temporary brick and mortar.
yeah. Also, if you do create like a gallery space, consider consigning, consider having other potters in your space and selling other people's stuff, because that brings more people too. Because then, those people that are in there will always be like, "Oh, I sell here," and so that's also a good way to get people coming in.
Yeah.
Um,
There's actually a potter that's in the Clay Alliance. Shout out OG Gallery. She is probably 2/3 gallery, but she makes pottery, but for a hobby.
yeah.
But the full time business is the gallery, and then the backside of it is a paint your own pot.
Oh, nice.
And then she has a back area where she fires everything, but she has like a wheel on the side that she throws on occasionally, and
Yeah.
then she lives above it. So she basically owns the building, and she has the retail and the paint your own pot and all that stuff. So like that's a way you could do it too. Like you don't have to be. I mean, sure, most of the people that are listening are probably potters and they're making their own work, but if you like the medium and you want to support other people, maybe you go the consignment route and you just have a bunch of
Mhm.
different mediums that you consign. And she has more than just clay, so she has clay and like other art forms that she sells to the public,
Yeah.
and then she has paint your own pot that's super like profitable, you know.
I always thought it'd be really fun to have like a paint your own pottery store, but um instead of doing like the China stuff, it would be really cool to like consign from local potters. Like if you were in like a dense pottery like community, you know, Like Washington was not like that. You
So
couldn't
you
find.
like buy bisqueware at wholesale?
Yeah. Like I would buy bisque from you, so like your shape of mugs, and then I would buy bisque from like Rachel, and I would buy bisque from Rebecca, and I would buy bisque from, you know,
Ah, that's
Josh, and
interesting.
like different mugs, and like have the artist sign the bottom still, and then it would be cool. I mean, like I think that would be cool to like bring in local handmade pottery that other people can paint, you know?
Also,
Um,
that would be a pretty sweet wholesale. Imagine if you had a wholesale order that all you had to do was make the bisqueware.
right. It's a win-win, really. So, but yeah, I always thought that that would be really cool because then people can be painting like obviously you have to be confident in your um the problem with that is that you have to be confident in your makers that they're not going to be having S cracks and like all
As
these things.
well
So
as are they
firing
using clay that fires to cone 5?
exactly. So
And
like
can
there's a
customers
lot of
paint on this clay?
logistical yeah, there's a lot of logistical issues, but it would still be really cool to have something that's like completely handmade and made in the city that or state that you're in. I've always thought that that would be really cool because I mean, the
Or maybe
majority
maybe that's a fun project for them. Maybe they only produce white stoneware bisqueware for you,
yeah,
and that's like a fun project for them on the side because all they got to do is make the bisqueware. They don't have to worry about what their glazes are going to look like
right,
on it
exactly.
because you're going to use your underglazes or
Yeah.
makos or whatever.
Yeah. It's funny cuz like, kids they love like the little mushrooms. I keep saying mushrooms, but I just really like the mushrooms and like gnomes and owls and all the animals and stuff. But the majority of women and men that come in that are above a certain age really like to paint something functional. That's usually the where they kind of lean towards. And so I think that that was a great idea at the beginning when I had that was like I'm just gonna have functional pieces, and then it kind of just like morphed into like
Yeah, I'm
throw
sure
up.
there's a market for it. It sounds like that would be a test thing that you would have to try, like
Mm-hmm.
having the cheaper stuff that has a higher profit margin, and then you have the stuff that has more logistical issues with the whole
Right.
clay bodies and figuring people. Maybe you just try it for like an artist and say,
Yeah.
this month we're featuring this artist and they
Yeah,
have
like
these
a
pieces.
featured artist. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I really yeah. I really like that part of the business. That was my favorite part. It's really fun to paint. Like,
Well, you like to paint yourself. Like I'm not a painter, so
yeah.
like I see a bisque piece and I'm like, okay, we're going to paint your own pot. We're gonna paint this. I am like, I have no idea what I'm gonna
Yeah.
put on here. Like,
Yeah. I've had like when I would do pre-COVID, we would do paint nights, and I can accommodate like 20 to 30 people in the studio at a time. And so,
nice.
like, we had a fall themed paint night where it was all pumpkins and gnomes
That's
and
sweet.
Sasquatches, or not
So
Sasquatches,
it's like
what are
pay 25
cornucopias.
bucks
And
at the door or something.
yeah, it was like it wasn't even that. It was like $5 ticket that they pay in advance, and that's the studio fee. And then they pick out whatever they want, and then they pay,
Oh, I
how
gotcha.
much at the end. And then you had like hot apple cider, and those were actually that was some of the funnest nights that I've
That's like
had.
an old time paint and sip. Like those
Yeah,
businesses they were killing it. I don't know if they're still killing it,
I'm
but the
sure they
whole
are. But it's better
painting
than a
on
paint and sip
canvas.
because then you don't have to teach anything. You just sit there and watch them paint
Yeah,
and
you just do a
chitter
quick
like
five
just joke
minute.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one I had was so hectic because I really hadn't figured out my color system. And there was like 30 people. I always start big and then I'm like, okay.
Then you scale down to like offering, like you wish you would have offered like 5 colors to eat everybody instead of like 25 colors to everybody to pick from. Is that
I've
what you
been
mean?
through a lot of different color situations. And what I've ended up with, and what I essentially started with, is that I offer all of the colors.
Because you have people inevitably that are going to ask you for this color.
Yeah, but also because I want all the colors.
Well, plus, I didn't know this, but you buy those colors at wholesale price.
Yeah. Yeah.
you're not buying the bottles of stroking coats at retail.
Right. I think a retail bottle of Stroke & Co. is, let's say I think it's a 16-ounce bottle is like $18.
Yeah, you're not paying that.
No, you're paying $9.
Nice. And the
Mm-hmm.
second train passes. Does that mean that we're wrapping up here?
That means we're wrapping up pretty close. I feel like we've got a new normal that's 2 hours, and I don't know how everybody else feels about.
Hey, Rachel's ringing the bell. That means we're done.
Oh my God! Why is she ringing a bell?
Probably because she wants me to unlock the door.
You locked your wife out?
I left earlier. I lock the door when I leave the house, yes.
Does she not have keys?
She does. She just doesn't want to dig for them, I guess.
That's
All right, so you
hilarious.
said new normal, 2 hours. We're hitting 2 hours. How do people feel about it?
Yeah, write it in your review that you're getting a sticker for.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyway, this was a weird, if you're gonna not really make a brick and mortar, but also make a brick and mortar, but also make a paint your own pottery, but also make a studio of classes.
It's a lot of considerations to weigh out here.
But at the end of the day, don't do it if you don't want to. If you need
Don't
more
be
space,
enticed by, like, it's only $400 a month. It's like,
it's fine. You know what? You can find a studio for $400 a month and make a lot more money doing it that way. And that's what we'll end with.
all right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And
Thanks.
catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Rachel. You basically bookended the episode, so. Woo! That was a long one, huh? We went like 40 minutes longer than I expected, but I just kept asking questions, so.
I know. Yeah. I don't
I
know
was
if that.
I was waiting for you to be like, all right, do we have anything else? So before you said that, okay, I got another one or two things I can ask about.
I feel like all in all, even though we didn't really stay on topic, it was still kind of entertaining.
I think it was better than the one we did before.
I agree.
I think just taking the 5 minutes of notes beforehand was beneficial enough to keep it on topic. Like, just taking it from one question and expecting us to get the whole episode, that's a little bit risky.
Yeah.
Unless it's something that we already, like, I don't know a lot about brick and mortar, so I was just throwing shit out there, but.
Yeah. Episode 90, Ryan.
Hope we get a lot of reviews. How many reviews do you think we're going to get by the end of the month from that incentive?
I don't know.
I'm going to say 12.
12.
Yeah.
I will say 18.
All right.
Okay, that's yours is at 12, mine's at 18.
Episode 90.
Rick? Do we have any more reviews? Did you check?
No, I checked. Trains are killing it tonight.
Hmm?
These trains are like zipping through there tonight.
There's a lot of pottery podcasts out now.
Yeah. Did you see the Slipcast? That's a new one. Newish one. Have you heard that one? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-mm. But I'm just looking at the you might also like.
What are some of the other ones mentioned?
Oh, just like the Tales of the Clay Rambler.
Yeah, I feel like Tales of the Red Clay Rambler and Potter's Cast are top 2 most known. I'm looking for. I thought I saved. A link for reviews that are outside the U.S. too.
You did. I still haven't listened to the Tales of the Red Clay Rambler.
Listen to 2, maybe. Chartable. There we go. Chartable.
They've been doing it since he's been doing it since 2015. There's 9 seasons.
Dang. How does he do the seasons? Is it just
by year?
Okay. Yeah, the last one was January 7th. What's up with that? Come on, peeps. Oh, no, I saw it. There we go. Real Talk Podcast.
See, now I don't feel sick really almost at all.
See, you just need to talk to me and feel better.
I think food helps a lot.
Oh my gosh, you know what's hilarious? I forgot to mention on the podcast. Okay, so I've been re-listening to old episodes of ours. And also I'm gonna send you a note because I started making a best of moments note. And I can't see the episode where you first read the review from JW17. And
I didn't hear anything. You just hold on.
You froze.
Okay, you froze too. Okay, the last thing I heard was the first episode where I read JW17's.
Yes. Do you want to guess what episode number was, given that we're at episode 90 right now?
Sure. God. Was it episode like 35?
No. It was episode 49.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now. Best review ever at 15:30.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the Barbara Stoneware episode too. That was so funny.
That's why that's why I think we need to give our listeners some homework and tell them to give us some of the, like, if they could give us this info on their favorites, then we can like go back and like listen to some of those and like think if they're good enough. I mean, I feel like we could easily hit an hour and a half of just this stuff. Like, I don't know.
We probably could.
Like, it could be like beneficial stuff, or it could just be funny stuff, or it could just be both intermingled. I mean, editing that is gonna suck for you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could remember I did like sound snippets before with the episode things. We could go that route. Like, I could help with that part of it, but I don't know how those would piece together nicely.
No, I think that it would be easy enough to just say in the episode, like, we're listening to this, and then we can listen to it, laugh about it, and then I'll just cut that part out.
Oh, so we're gonna like cue it up.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna listen to it live. I thought we were just snipping funny parts out and just making a continuous string of funny parts, and we're not gonna talk at all except maybe at the beginning and the end.
We could do that too. That would be pretty funny.
And like some of these were, I think, beneficial to, like the Elan Pottery diversity one. I think we were talking about you want somebody that is like the go-to diversity person. So it'd be like foreshadowing us talking to her or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
The Barbara Stoneware.
God, that was so funny. That's a really good name.
Yeah, so, and then the notes at the bottom were just notes about funny moments that I remember, but I don't exactly know what episodes they were.
Got random.
You got random?
Yeah.
Okay.
From where?
Okay.
Hi.
Were you able to pee?
Yeah, pee like a fucking racehorse. No,
Oh, wait, this is going to be recorded.
No, delete that. I can't say that on your podcast.
It's not on the podcast. It's going to be for Patreon
No,
later on.
I don't want people to hear me just said that. That was ridiculous. You guys tell me these things.
Becca can decide whether to cut it or not.
Don't let people hear me say that.
Why not?
That's embarrassing.
You want to be on camera?
No. I don't care about the random part. I'm fine with the quote.
What quote? Kissing like a racehorse?
Yeah.
Why are you worried about that?
Yeah.
It's Derby this week. It's
Yeah.
very timely.
So me talking like urine is not the way to go.
Oh.
I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see those pieces.
Yeah.
Hi. It keeps like going out in and out of internet, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm excited to see what she comes back with.
Who?
Who we talked to before? That we sent out the email to.
Oh yeah.
All right. So, what do you think about this best of? Should we give our listeners some homework and ask them to give us episode numbers and timestamps at a minimum?
Yeah.
Should we do that should we do like a post? That way we can see documented things and then people can like it if they like remember, because otherwise people are just going to blindly be doing this and sending us DMs or whatever.
I think a post is a good idea because it keeps everything out in the open, you know?
And it's documented somewhere that we can go off of. Oh man, there's so many fucking episodes.
That's a lot.
Yeah, so yeah, I just listened to 2 episodes today, so that's why they're in there. And the 1 minute Carlos one was just talking about like why we call him Carlos, and then like calling your Deech and stuff. And then the honesty thing was like you want somebody that can give you 100%, 150% honest feedback as a resource. And they can just tell you that something sucks.
I do want that. I still want that.
I just think that was good advice. Find somebody that can get. The Carlos critiques was where we were just queuing up that like how Carlos gives no shits about what anybody thinks, and he'll just tell you. And then you were talking about the whole lip thing and like bouncing back, like how you approach getting feedback about the lip being too sharp with the texture and stuff. And then you didn't like compliments because you know that your wine glasses are so good, you don't really benefit from that. So. You're like, yeah, I know, I made
them.
So we could do it some different ways. I don't know. I mean, we could break it up. We could once we get the 100 episodes, we can break it up to the first 50, and then like 50 to 100 or something.
That's probably a good idea if we did a two-parter, 1 through 50, 50 through 100.
Yeah, that is so many episodes. Oh my god! Like if we talk for 2 hours on every one on average, that's so many hours.
Look at us! Look at us growing our friendship.
200 hours of talking. Just
We're
on
off.
recording. That is nuts. I don't know if there's anybody that I've talked to for more than 200 hours besides Rachel, probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
Alright. Alright. Well, I don't know what the attention grabber is going to be with a post like that, but I think it doesn't hurt to get started. And we can probably tell them that we plan to break it up. So maybe we do 2 different posts. Maybe we do one for 1 to 50, and then one for 50 to 100, or 51 to 100.
I think we should just do one.
Just do one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see all the traction? We got a lot of traction today with Leanne sharing it, and then Forrest shared it too.
How many downloads do we have on that?
On that episode?
Yeah.
It has.
Oh wow, 490 downloads already.
Yeah. And the one that was already out for more than a week, 511. So it's easily going to surpass that, and I feel like it's going to jump up super quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think our second most popular download episode is the Hammerly one, I want to say. Yeah, Hammerly's second.
At 1,000.
The Motivation, episode number 1, 1,200, and then, yeah, Hammerly's is at 1,000.
I'm surprised that Glazing is the third.
Yeah, me too. Plus, it's 4 months old, so, like, that must have hit at, like, the perfect time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but Tara's and Matt's is, like, right under that. Your Instagram one is right there, too.
I know, I was about that. That's a solo
you're,
episode.
You're more important than John the Potter. By 1.
It's because it said Instagram questions in there, that's all. Glazing. I feel like the glazing one probably got a lot of traction because there's a lot of people that are thinking about making their own glazes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's pretty good resources in here in this episode notes. I actually list out the glazing questions that we talk about. They got online recommendations, book recommendations. Yeah. Pretty good. All right. So we've got a post for the listener stuff for the 100th.
Yeah.
That's going to be in July. Do we need something in a shorter term to ask about the reviews and tell people about, hey, we're offering the sticker thing? Or do we only want them to hear that on the podcast?
I think we can put it just in our stories when the podcast hits on Saturday.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Also, I thought it's interesting now that we have upgraded. Like, it's a good thing we upgraded our hours.
Yeah.
Because we have like 4 hours left in 23 hour, like tomorrow. But still, like, we've been doing traditionally around 2.
Did it double from the plan that we had to now? I think
Yeah, I
it's
think
6
so.
hours.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
4
think
hours.
it's 12 hours.
12 hours. Okay. Damn. So we were uploading almost 8 hours a month. Yeah, that's about 2 hours. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe some of these are like 50 minutes. Did you see which ones are at the very bottom?
No.
I think the titles have a lot to do with it.
Probably.
Well, Leanne's is at the very bottom, but hers has been 3 days. Your solo depressed B one's at the bottom. And then Art
Yeah.
Show Part 2.
Pot swap.
Yeah, Handling the Dreaded Winter. Good Times at Claycon West.
I didn't realize may all our failed goals be forgot. That's fucking hilarious. You came up with that, didn't you?
I don't think so. I think you did.
I don't think I did.
I'm pretty sure you did. Man, I was blanking so hard on what to name the Leanne one.
What did you name it?
Because I knew it was going to be long.
All the things. I like that. It was all the things. It was literally all the things. I
Yeah.
do love that we're really close though. Like our stats are they're pretty consistent, you know, like 600 to 800 seems to be right around the right number, you know?
Do you mean per episode?
Yeah, like the downloads, like there's nothing in like the 200s. It's all above 400, you know? But
Yeah.
most
I
of
think
them are
that's
in the 6
the
to 8.
subscriber. Like when they subscribe, it's automatically going to download. So I don't
Mhm.
know how the downloads correlate with listens,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, you can see yeah, kind of interesting to look at it. I don't know what to glean from some of it, but I mean, you can do the like over 30 days or over the first 30 days of kind of what
Yeah.
it's like, and that's kind of interesting to see which ones jump up higher.
Mhm.
Pricing was good too. Pricing, the Instagram questions, packing and shipping. Those three stand out.
It looks like we're getting like the last 10 episodes, we've gotten like um about 4,600 downloads.
That's a lot.
That's a
Are you talking
lot.
about cumulative of the last 10?
Oh, wait, never mind. Devices. Hmm.
I mean, I'm just on the episode downloads, and then you can look at it says last 20, but you can just cumulatively add up the downloads.
Yeah, no, I went to apps and devices.
Oh, okay. Applications.
Oh, I gotta go. It's almost 1.
Yeah. All right. Good night.
Night.
Chatting, and see ya.
Bye.
Bye.